I discovered my husband's disturbing last letter to his deceased mother which he lost, so I showed it to him and made him cry. My mother-in-law was an angel of a woman, but sadly she passed away 3 years ago from terminal cancer. She welcomed me into her home when I was 17 and was kicked out by my abusive parents, and she was like a mother figure to me which I never had. Her death impacted our lives greatly, and we mourned for a very long time. I remember when she had a few months left to live, my husband started working on an enormous handwritten letter to her which he was going to give to her on her last days as his way of saying goodbye. I remember my husband showing me the letter and he was totally okay with me reading it as she and I were always super close. Unfortunately, this letter, which was about 30 pages long, went missing one day. My husband swears he left it in his drawer, but after turning the house upside down for days on end we were never able to find it. I grilled him about it, sometimes blaming him for being so careless for losing it. My husband has cried many times about it, and he says losing this letter is the biggest regret of his entire life. I cried a lot about it too, as some of the things I read in it were so beautiful and it was something I know my late mother-in-law would have cherished deeply in her final moments. Well, we are moving house soon and yesterday I was clearing out the attic, something I have never done in the 8 years we have lived in this house, and I stumbled upon a familiar notebook. I wasn't sure whether my eyes were deceiving me at first, but then I looked closer and realized it. It was the notebook which contained the letter. I cried, and even though I probably should have called my husband, I opened it up and started reading in tears. I flicked through the pages and each page had a subheading which related to the topic he wrote about. I had seen most of them, but one called, "I forgive you for what you did that night, Mom," caught my eye. Curiosity got the better of me, and I started reading. What I read made me so sick to my stomach. I will copy and extract from the letter below.
I'm sorry for never discussing this with you, Mom. I know this probably still haunts you to this day and what you did should be inexcusable. I found myself in therapy for many years and never told you about it. I knew it was a deep and dark memory of your life you wanted to forget. I don't blame you for what you did. It messed me up, but just like everyone, you had your skeletons. The night you came into my room when I was 8 years old and you were very drunk and under the influence of what I now think was grass. I think you thought I was asleep. You were super mom to me, and no matter what influence you were under, you saved us from Dad and I can never thank you enough. Nonetheless, what you did that night changed me. I'm sure you remember going into my room and starting to try to do things to me. Intimate things. Things you should never in a million years do to your own son. You carried on for a few minutes before stopping. I heard you crying in the bathroom a few minutes later and throwing up. I cried myself to sleep, but very silently. Thankfully you never came back in. You also never noticed how I was in the aftermath. I never held it against you though, not even the day after. You gave me everything. I know what you did was monstrous, but I forgive you, Mom. I forgive you.
I threw up after I read this. My mother-in-law had roped my husband when he was just 8 years old. I stopped packing and cleaning the house after that. I waited for my husband to come home, and when he did I gave him the letter. I didn't say anything, just showed him this. Without even reading it he broke down crying, saying he was sorry for never telling me. He could never bring himself to do so. He told me he means what he says. He forgives her. I held him for a long time. I can't blame him for not telling me, but it does feel like a very weird sense of betrayal.